Welcome to this explainer. Today we're unpacking some absolutely mind-blowing insights from behavioral expert Chase Hughes. We are breaking down his analysis on how to identify the subtle, often unseen, and, let's be honest, downright dangerous traits of toxic people. If you're fascinated by how human behavior really works behind the scenes, you are totally in the right place.
So let me ask you this. Have you ever walked away from a conversation just feeling completely drained, maybe a bit confused, or like you were somehow being controlled, but you couldn't exactly put your finger on why? Yeah, it's an awful feeling, right? Well, you might actually be unknowingly surrounded by manipulative people who are quietly siphoning off your mental energy. And today, we're going to learn exactly how to spot them.
Okay, let's jump right in and define what we actually mean by toxic behavior.
You know, when we hear the word evil, our minds usually go straight to the movies, right? Monsters, villains, the supernatural. But Hughes frames this entirely around human psychology. Evil behavior is the subtle but incredibly dangerous use of manipulation, deception, and emotional control to dominate others. It's not about pitchforks at all. It's about the systematic draining of your mental energy. Think of that colleague who constantly, but so subtly, undermines your confidence in meetings until you actually start doubting your own competence. What we're doing today is essentially building a threat assessment profile.
Moving on, let's look at the connection between a lack of empathy and master manipulation.
According to Hughes, there are 5 really subtle warning signs of an evil or highly toxic person. We've got a lack of empathy, master manipulation, constant gaslighting, hidden intentions, and finally, emotional domination. Let's break these down.
All right, sign 1 is the complete lack of empathy. This right here? This is the bedrock. It's the absolute foundation of a dangerous personality. Empathy is the thing that stops most of us from hurting others, right? It's that internal brake pedal that lets us feel what someone else is going through. But toxic individuals, they have a profound internal deficit here. Because they literally do not feel your pain, it becomes terrifyingly easy for them to cause it. If they throw you under the bus to get a promotion, they aren't feeling a pang of guilt? No way. They only feel the success of getting that promotion. Your suffering doesn't even register as a speed bump to them.
And because they don't have that empathy holding them back, they operate purely on strategy, which brings us perfectly to sign 2, master manipulators. They look at relationships kind of like a chessboard. They use external tactics to orchestrate situations, pull the strings behind the scenes, and engineer outcomes that serve absolutely no one but themselves. They are just masterful at reading what you want to hear and then using that exact thing as a lever to move you exactly where they want you.
Let's dive into how they pull this off with gaslighting and hidden agendas. So this brings us to sign 3, constant gaslighting. Now, gaslighting is basically a full-on psychological attack on your sense of reality. Picture it like this. On one side, you have the actual truth of a situation, what you saw, what you heard, what literally happened. But on the other side, you have the manipulator's twisted version. They might look you dead in the eye and say, "I never agreed to that," even when you both absolutely know for a fact that they did. And they lie with such unwavering confidence that you'll actually begin to question your own memory, your own judgment, even your own sanity. And they do this specifically so that you eventually just give up trusting yourself and start relying entirely on their version of the world.
Which naturally leads us to sign 4, hidden intentions. With a toxic person, what you see is almost never what you get. The psychology going on here is absolutely fascinating, but it's also pretty dark. Everything they say to you basically acts as a mask. For example, they might offer you this unexpected, lavish compliment. But beneath the surface, it's just a hidden agenda to soften you up for a massive favor later on. What they are actually doing, constantly, is figuring out what they can extract from you, whether that's your time, your money, your social status, or even just an emotional reaction.
Okay, to help make all this stick, let's categorize these warning signs into 2 buckets. First, we have their internal deficits. That's the lack of empathy and the hidden intentions. This is what is fundamentally broken inside of them. Second, we have their external tactics, the master manipulation and the constant gaslighting. This is the aggressive, outward weaponry they're actually using against you. Understanding the difference between what they lack on the inside and what tactics they use on the outside is totally key to spotting them in real time.
Now let's look at the end game, emotional domination.
Side 5 is emotional control and domination. Like I said, this is the end game, folks. The lack of empathy, the manipulation, the gaslighting, all of that was literally just laying the groundwork. The ultimate goal of an evil person is total, complete emotional control over your life. They want you isolated, dependent, and entirely submissive to their will. They want to be the sole author of your emotional state. Recognizing that this is their end goal is absolutely vital for your own psychological survival.
So how do we stop this? Let's talk about protecting your mental energy.
Chase Hughes makes a really crucial point in his analysis. He says awareness is your first line of defense. I want you to really think about that for a second. You don't need to try and out-manipulate a manipulator. You really don't need to fight fire with fire here. Simply seeing the trap for what it is the absolute best way to avoid stepping right into it. The very moment you recognize these traits, the manipulator instantly loses their power over you. Why? Because their tactics rely entirely on operating in the dark.
All right, so here is your action plan moving forward. First up, recognize those warning signs early. Do not wait until you're completely mentally drained. Second, fiercely protect your mental energy. You've got to treat it like it's your most valuable resource, because it is. Third, establish incredibly strong personal boundaries. Say no and actually mean it. Fourth, stay one step ahead of the manipulation by looking for the hidden intentions behind their words. And finally, by doing all of this, you take back control of your own life. You are in the driver's seat, nobody else.
Well, that brings us to the end of our explainer. But before we go, I want to leave you with a direct question to really chew on. Knowing these 5 signs, the lack of empathy, the manipulation, the gaslighting, the hidden intentions, and that ultimate drive for emotional domination, where are you going to draw the line today to protect your own mental energy? Take a hard look at your own life, your own relationships, and ask yourself what boundary you need to set right now. Thanks so much for exploring this really vital topic with me today. Stay aware, stay strong, and protect your peace.